All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome back to another live stream. Apologies for a bit of a different time today. So, as you might be able to guess, I am off work today. I took the day off to do some family stuff later, and so because I'm going to be busy with family stuff later, I thought, hey, let's go ahead and knock out a live stream early in the morning. So, instead of my usual Polar Pop, I got my coffee today, and I hope you brought yours. I got my Starbucks here. In case you're wondering what I drink, this is actually something I get pretty regularly. So this is a Trenta-sized iced coffee, but it is supposed to be like a keto variant. So instead, I take it. So in the iced coffee, it usually comes with like some sort of standard like sweetener syrup thing. So I take that out, replace it with 2 pumps of brown sugar syrup, 2 pumps of sugar-free vanilla syrup, 3 stevia packets, and extra heavy cream and light cinnamon powder. So I know I honestly hate being one of those people that like have a super complicated drink order, but if I can, have something that's a little bit healthier, then I'll do that. So anyway, so today's live stream is a little bit different in the sense that we're not going to be doing anything about machine learning per se, but we are going to be building our own Python or our own Wordle clone using Python. And so honestly, we're not going to get start to finish everything done today. So this is going to be kind of an introduction to Python, if you will. Now, I did a previous live stream before on how to set up your machine for data science on Windows. So I'm not going to necessarily if you are new to coding or anything, I'm not necessarily going to cover how you do something like install Windows or something like that. So I'll see if I can get like a link attached to like the YouTube version of this live stream or something. Well, I guess if you go to dkhunt.com and scroll down to, I think there's like a workstation setup guide. Anyway, so that's what we're going to be doing. So in case, if you're not familiar with what Wordle is, so Wordle is it's a popular phenomenon kind of little game thing where it's like every day there is a random 5-letter word that's given, and then you have to try to guess how many letters, or like guess what the word is. And so like you'll type in a random word, and it'll tell you like what characters you have correct, or if like you have number of characters correct but not in the correct position. And it's a fun little game. But what's interesting about it is it's not necessarily a new game. Like so if any of you are familiar with the old TV show Lingo, and I guess they're bringing that back now with RuPaul, which that's going to be cool. But I used to like watching Lingo when I was in high school, and Lingo was this game show that was basically Wordle. But so it's interesting that this guy who coded up Wordle sold it to the New York Times for $1 million or something like $1 million. And it doesn't sound like that's that much money for selling something to New York Times, but you got to consider 2 things. Number 1, this was not an original idea, and number 2, as we're gonna see, this is actually not that hard to code. And so I haven't determined if we're gonna actually put a UI behind or in front of this, or just do a backend and make it like a command line interface. But we at least for now, we're going to start with the back end. So if you're not familiar with the term back end versus front end, so think about if you go to like McDonald's and you want to order a cheeseburger. When you go, assuming that you walk in and you're going to eat in the restaurant. So like when you walk up to the counter, you see all these pretty TV screens up above the counter that have like the menu and like it's it's now TV screens. I remember growing up whenever it was still like the little like plastic little things that like maybe McDonald's didn't have that, but I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. What are those signs called? It's like a black sign, and you have like the white letters that you could stick into it. Like people like to use those for like wedding things and stuff. But anyway, so you like, and now they have the TV screens, and like then they have like the really nice animation of like the Coke being poured into a glass, and it just looks so nice. But anyway, so that's the front end kind of thing. And so obviously McDonald's, knowing that this is going to be the place that customers see, they want to make it look as nice as possible. And then whenever you place your order, let's say you just get a standard Big Mac meal, it goes to people who are working in the back to actually prepare your food and then bring it up to you in the front. So this is the part where you don't necessarily see what's going on behind the scenes, because usually there's walls and stuff, and usually I don't want to say that like the kitchen is ugly per se, but it's definitely not. McDonald's is not sinking money into making the kitchen itself look pretty. So that's where things go into the back end, and then they like will cook your fries, they'll cook your burger and everything, and then so all the heavy lifting, if you will, of preparing your meal is done in the kitchen. So that's what we would call the back end. So then the back end would, after it's done preparing meal, then it would give it back up to the front end, which would be the counter, and then the person would hand you your food. So in the same thing in software, when we talk front end versus back end, when we think front end, you think like this is the pretty user interface of what you're doing, but then the back end is like the heavy lifting, if you will, of like what's actually computationally being done. So what we're going to be doing in this live stream is we're going to be focusing on the back end. And like I said, we're going to be doing it in Python. So, I will do my best to explain basic Python concepts. So if you are new to coding, I hope this stream will be good for you. Like I said, I'm not going to cover the workstation setup. That's already kind of been done in a different live stream and in not blog form, but in a GitHub. But yeah, so let me go ahead and share my screen real quick because I do want to show another thing. So I did already start a GitHub repository. And if you're not familiar, well, actually, so let me show you this real quick because I keep talking about this this workstation setup. So I just went to dkhundley.com, and if you this is just like a standard link tree. So I don't know if you all are familiar with these link trees. These are super nice, and this is actually free. So if you scroll down or look all the way at the bottom here, you'll see a workstation setup. So what this is it takes me over to my GitHub, and I'm not going to talk about what Git is here, but the nice thing about like this is like it will cover all the stuff that you need to like understand some of the stuff. And it looks like I still haven't completed parts of this, so I'm recommending something and it's not even complete. So sorry about that. By the way, so I am monitoring for comments in both LinkedIn and YouTube. LinkedIn's being a little bit funny right now, so I don't. If for whatever reason you're on LinkedIn and you ask a question, I apologize if it doesn't get to me. Like it's just the UI is being a little bit odd for me. Anyway, so this will walk you through how to do the installations. I know it doesn't link here, but I thought I did create this. Maybe I need to push it up or something. Anyway, but like, so if you're not familiar with Git, this page here will talk you through what Git is, and then like how you install Git, and then some basic Git commands, including there's a linked course in here from Udacity that's free. This is actually the course that I use to learn Git, and it's a really good course. You can, if you're not familiar with Git, you could knock out this course in a couple hours. But anyway, the reason I say that is so that my code here is currently stored as a GitHub repository. You don't need to clone this code or anything. The only thing I do want to note is that because we are going to be making use of words, obviously we need to get the words to source our Wordle thing. I do have like a text file in here that has like all these words, and I honestly can't remember where I got this file, so I should probably go back and find and attribute to where I found this file. But basically this file's got just a bunch of words in it, and I know a lot of them are longer than 5 characters, but you'll see how we truncate those down. But these are just common words, and I don't know how long this file is. Let me scroll all the way down. So that about 5,500 words in here, but not all of them are 5 characters, but that's okay. These are some pretty common words, and we'll show you how to get just the 5 character words in a little bit. So that's the only reason that you might want to clone this GitHub repository. Otherwise, you are welcome to do anything on your own local machine. All right, so so I'm gonna be totally honest. I've never actually played Wordle myself, like the legit Wordle. Like I said, I like the old version of Lingo. So let me just show you like what what Lingo is, or I'm sorry, not what Lingo is, what Wordle is, just to give a quick representation of what we're gonna be doing here. Like I said, they ask you to guess words, and then if you don't guess the right word, then it'll show you what characters you have correct at least. So, what should we start off today with? A 5-letter word. I don't know, my own name, David. All right, so not in word list. Okay, well, how about apple? All right, so you can see here that I got the letter E is correct and in the correct place, which is why it's marked as green. However, the letter A, I did get correct, but it is not in the correct place. So the letter A should be in one of these other slots. So let me and by the way, this is obviously going to be a spoiler because I think they only do one word a day. So if you are a Wordle fan, this will be a spoiler, but we'll see if I can complete this here. So Apple, oh my gosh, I can't. Oh, I am struggling to think of 5-letter words right now. March, I don't know. Oh, okay, wow. So ham. So like obviously I'm getting like something here. All right, so H. O-M-A-E. No, I'm just trying to think of like the letters that would match here. A-R, snake. All right, I'm just doing what my wife told me to do in the chat there. Okay, so smoke. That's got to be it. No. All right, so S-H-A, M-E. Shame. All right, there we go. That's the word. So that's basically what we're going to be doing here. Is we're going to be coding up how to do this. So you can see that here, like the next word is not going to show up because they only do one a day. But basically, this is what we are going to be creating here. Okay. So let me take a sip of my drink real quick. All right. It's ironic with the word of shame because I bet my wife is thinking that I am shameful for not getting that word right. Okay. So anyway. The way, like I said, we are going to focus on the back end here, and that means we need to load in our text first. So there are a couple of things, by the way, we could tackle this a number of different ways in terms of like how to actually code this. We could do everything via our integrated code or integrated development environment, IDE. So I use Intellij here typically. And then we could do things like breakpoints and stuff that would do this what am I trying to say here? Like the actual like coding and stuff. I actually prefer whenever I'm doing like trying to figure out little bits of code along the way like this. I actually prefer to work out of Jupyter Notebooks. And if you're not familiar with what a Jupyter Notebook is, a Jupyter Notebook is, well, I'll show that here in a second, but let me show what this is here. All right, so go to my repositories. All right, what is this called? Python Wordle clone. Open. Okay. This went out. So this is this is Intellij. This is or the community edition of Intellij. So this is free. So all developers will work in some sort of what we call a code editor or a text editor or an integrated development environment. A lot of people use VS Code. A lot of people use Intellij. You can't really go wrong. But the reason we use stuff like this is because we want to have like syntax highlighting and just a kind of an all-in-one place to do all of our work. Excuse me. So I am going to create a new directory here to store this code. And I'm going to so we are eventually going to deploy this as what we call a Docker container. I'm not going to call a Docker. I'm not going to call it a container or I'm not going to explain what a container is for right now. Actually, sorry, I'm stumbling over my words. I'm just trying to think of like how I actually want to do this. You know what? I'm actually going to rename this. Refactor, rename. And I'm just going to call this SRC. And the reason I'm calling this SRC is because SRC is a typical nomenclature for source. And because I think either I'm going to turn this into a UI eventually, or I'm going to turn this into what we call a Python, our own Python command line interface, or CLI. And I actually, because you could do this, like you could actually create a CLI version of Wordle. So I'll just call it that. So I'll create a new file in here. I'm going to call this test.py. So Python file is always in the end in the extension test.py, and then the extension .py. Obviously standing for Python. Oh, by the way, so even though the typical person would refer to like these things over here off to the left as files, we in the development community refer to these as directories, and I think the main reason for that is because this is a Python file and we don't want to confuse the SRC directory with a file. So if I call this SRC file and call this Python file, that can get confusing. I don't know if that's actually the reason why we call it directory or not. That at least that is my takeaway, is like we don't want it to be confusing. So when it comes to actually running Python files, So as part of this integrated development environment, like I do have like what we call the terminal in here. So this is the command line interface. So you can see here that we are in my documents directory, my repositories, my Python Wordle clone. And so I can run basic Linux commands from here. So again, actually in this workstation setup guide, did I put it in here? Okay, so I did. So I do have a thing that shows you how to set up the command line interface, including like for Windows users specifically, because it's a little bit tricky on Windows. And in case you're curious, what you see over here off on the right, this is actually my Microsoft Surface and my just like an external monitor connected to it. I am streaming right now from my Mac, so I actually have a Mac machine and a Windows machine, and yeah, because I'm obnoxious, of course. But anyway, so like I tried getting the Windows instructions to be pretty clear. So lots of pretty screenshots in here. I tried to make it very obvious how to create this thing. Okay, and then at the very bottom here, this is what I wanted to highlight here, is like this shows some very basic Linux commands that like pretty much I use on a very like daily basis. And again, if you want to go into a step further, I would recommend you check out this free course from Udacity, Udacity Linux Command Line Basics, similar to the Git thing. You can knock it out in a few hours. Hold on, I'm going to type something in the chat there. Maggie, are you still there? Like if you're, I'm just telling you the fence broke. I'm going to fix it later. Okay, sorry. My wife was in the chat there, so and I haven't talked to her this morning because she wakes up later than I do, and I was just letting her know that our fence broke. Our fence always breaks because you'd be surprised, Bloomington gets extremely windy, and we have a cheap plastic fence. We didn't put the fence in; it just came with the house. But it's still nice enough that I don't want to rip. It would be too much work to tear it out. So I always every couple months I have to fix it. In fact, let me text her. I'm going to text her really quick because I don't think she's there anymore. BTW part of the fence broke. Sorry. If I don't do that right now, I'm going to forget. Okay. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. So yeah, these are just some standard Linux commands here. Okay, so if I come back over in here, and if I want to actually, the way you run anything in a terminal is you start off with the name of what you want to run, and then you issue commands. That's probably a terrible way, but let's say I wanted to run a Python file, I would type the word Python because that's kind of saying, okay, I want to do something in Python, and then I would type the name of the file that I want to run. So I would run, so actually there's nothing in here. So we'll do a simple hello world. So the thing about code is the reason that it has to be such a precise syntax is if you think about it, what the code is basically doing is it's translating something that we can read in our English language, even if it's not natural language, something that we can read into something that the computer can understand, because the computer needs a very precise instructions in order to be able to do its work, because it cannot understand natural language per se. And the reason it can't understand natural language is because context is super important when it comes to natural language. So if you think about the phrase "let's eat grandma," or if that was in written form, if you put a comma after the word "eat," so it'd be "let's eat, comma grandma." That's kind of the idea of okay, I'm telling my grandma, I'm issuing a, I don't want to say command, but a request to my grandma is hey, let's come eat, grandma. But if we don't have that comma in there, it's saying let's eat, grandma. We should go, I'm the big bad wolf and we should eat grandma. And I know that's kind of stupid, but that's the whole reason we have these precise syntax languages. And each of these coding languages has its own quirks and stuff to it. Yeah, that's why they're all a little bit different, but I actually find Python's to be the easiest. So one of the first, one thing that I'm going to do here really quick is Python does have some built-in commands already that will do certain things. So one of the most popular ones is the print command. So I'm going to type print here, And we're just going to type in here, hello world. And so the print command, as you can guess, is just going to print this word out to the console. So if I go into src here, and then you can see I got my test Python file, I'm going to run the command python test.py. So again, saying Python, and then we want to go into this test.py file, and then go ahead and hit enter. And you can see all it did was run the hello world command, and then we went right back to our terminal, because when after every line is executed or you hit some sort of error or exit command, then the Python program closes, and then it goes back to your terminal as so. So there we go. We have this going on. All right, so when it comes to pretty much all coding languages, like I said, we do have some standard commands that are built in. So like for Python, we have the print command, other things like that. But when we want to augment our code with extra functionality, we have to add in what we call libraries. And so the way to think about a library is think about whenever you got your iPhone for the first time, or if you're on an Android device, if you got an Android device. So obviously it comes default installed with a phone app and the messages app, but if you want Facebook or something or Twitter or whatever, you actually have to go into the app store and install that in order to get it to work. So the same is kind of true for the coding languages. So in Python, we can go out to this index that we call PyPy, which stands for the Python package index, and then we can get whatever library that we need to support our work. So that is what we will be doing. And then the way we make use of that, or even some of the more other Python commands, is we do an import statement, because we are importing the library that we need. So in this case, I'm going to import OS, because so OS is actually another default Python library. However, if you want to make use of it, you do have to import it. So if I do import OS, and then I do a print os dot, I think get cwd. So get cwd stands for or get current working directory. So I think this is the right syntax. So let me try this out. So if I run this file again, okay, so you can see here what basically just happened is this OS library looked at whatever the context of this runtime environment was, and printed out the current working directory. So you can see we are in users, DK online documents, repositories, Python Wordle clone source. So if I run the same command, actually, and over in here, cwd or pwd, yeah, pw. So it's cwd up here. This is where it can be a little confusing at times, but the actual Linux command is pwd, and that stands for print working directory. So it does the same thing. It's just a little bit different. It can be confusing, but this is going to be important. So this is, this is how most developers work is, and you can see you'll notice here that we have a little bit of different coloration here, and this is what we call syntax highlighting. And syntax highlighting basically helps to the coder to know that their syntax of their code looks correct, because remember, we have to have a very precise syntax here. So if I created my own function here, def, so what a function is in coding is, if you imagine you have some sort of inputs and you want them transformed, and then you have an output. Let's say you were setting the coding example aside, let's say you were baking bread. The inputs to baking bread are, you need your yeast, you need your flour, you need your other stuff, and then on the other side you have your cooked bread. And so in the meat, whenever the bulk of the function is, you take those ingredients and then you'll combine them together, you'll knead them, you'll cook them, and then on the other side you'll get bread. So the way we do that in Python is we do we define the function by putting def, and then we put the name of the function. So def, what do we want to call this? Make bread. Not make break, make bread, and then we do a colon, and then so this is where in here within these parens you would define what sort of inputs that you want here. You actually don't have to have any inputs here, and just for fun, I'm just going to show that you don't actually have to do that. So def make bread, and then print, or what do I want to do? Well, I guess I could set some variables here. So by the way, what you can do in any coding languages is you can set variables. And what a variable is, the way I like to think about it, it's kind of like a container, that you can always reference, and then you can fill that container with different things. So let's say I put variable one equals the number 1, and then variable 2 equals the number 2. Or I'm actually going to change this. Adding 2 numbers. So I'm going to take in variable 1, variable 2 here. So this is actually referring to the same variables above. And then I'm going to my new number equals variable 1 plus variable 2. And then we can do and then so we have this new number that's adding these two things together. And then whenever we actually want to like output it on the other side, we do what we call a return statement. And so then my new number, we're going to return that there. And so then if I actually wanted to call, I'm going to delete this. And this is kind of messy code, so I apologize that it's not great. So if I actually want to make use of this function, then I can say just print adding 2 numbers, variable 1. Oops, variable 1, variable 2. And then, okay, so let's see if this works. Yeah. Oops. All right, let me clear this out. Clear Python test.py. Okay, so you can see there what happened there is, variable 1 is number 1, variable 2 is number 2, and then it outputted number 3 there. And so the nice thing about variables though is so you can see that we're referring to these different things. So we can change the value up here. I can change the value of this to 5, and then I don't have to alter this code at all. And then I can just simply run this code again, and then you can see we get this here. So that the reason we use variables is we can kind of do a set once and forget later of that way we're not always having to change these things because these things are just referring to other things from above. So that's going to be important as we continue along our project here. So this is and again, so the reason that we use code editors is you can see that it's doing all the pretty syntax highlighting. So if for whatever reason I have something that's like kind of funky like that, so you'll notice here that Python is reliant on indentation being correct here. So the indentation here is not correct because this needs to be tabbed over to be a part of this function. So let's see what happens if I try to run this like this. Yeah, you'll see that I have an indentation error here. So and I'm actually surprised that did not get flagged returned. But let's say so it'll syntax highlight keywords. So return is a keyword, but if I put return D, then you'll see it's got some weird squiggly line and it's no longer done like that. So anyway, that is why we use these things, and this is what I would use if I would when I'm ready to create a production ready script. But when it comes to actually just testing stuff out in Python, I personally prefer to use just Jupyter Notebooks. And so what a Jupyter Notebook is, and I'll come over and show Jupyter here. What a Jupyter Notebook here is basically a runtime environment where you can do Python code and in what we call cells. It'll make sense here in a second. So let me go ahead and create a new Python Jupyter Notebook here. So you can see there's a number of different cells. We only have one cell here. I'll go ahead and create a couple more. But the nice thing about these cells is you can write Python code in here. So import OS, and then you can run these cells one by one. So let me grab this code here. So I'm gonna do this. All right, so I'm going to put this here. I'm actually going to move these out of here. All right, so you can see we got similar syntax highlighting here. So I'm going to run that and then put the variables here. And then when I do this print thing here, then I can do this, and then you see we get the same results. But the nice thing about a Jupyter Notebook here is that you can run these cells out of order. And so I can actually go back to this other cell up here and then keep doing this and then kind of keep jumping around back and forth to test things out. And so this is really the reason that we like Jupyter Notebooks is they're really great for data science because you can do visualizations in these notebooks. So if you want to show histograms or whatever, you can do that. If you want to add just general notes for yourself, you can do that. So you can change this from a coding cell to what we call a markdown cell. And so then I can use a syntax language called markdown to make some notes. So here are I'm going to call this title because when you do the £1 sign like that, it does a title in markdown. And I'll do this is the title of my notebook. And then when I run this cell, you'll see that it actually turns into something pretty looking. And so that's why a lot of people use Jupyter Notebooks, but I personally like to use Jupyter Notebooks just for testing purposes like this, because I can make a small tweak to something without having to run everything. And I think you can't, honestly, you can technically do that over in here, but you have to set things like breakpoints and stuff, and that's just, honestly, it's a little bit annoying. I personally just prefer to use a Jupyter Notebook, so that's what we're going to be doing here, actually. All right, so I'm going to close this out, leave this page. Shut this down and delete this. All right. So that was a lot of waffling to get to the actual point here. So the first thing that we need to do is we actually need to load in the file. So like I said, I already do have a text file with all these words in this data directory here. And so and I'm going to move some windows around here. All right, so clear this out. Okay, so this is my separate terminal. Like, I know I had that as, you know, this, it's basically the same thing as this in here, but I have this separated out over here. So if I look in here, ls does a showing of the, like what sort of directories and stuff are in here. So you can see that I got a data, notebooks, and source directory. So if I do a cd into the data directory and I do an ls, you can see that there is a Google 10,000 English words, USA, no swears, medium.txt. And again, I can't remember where I got this file from. I started to... I did this like 2 months ago, so I don't remember exactly. Actually, by the way, the only thing I've done for this project to date is like just getting the text file. I've not actually done any coding for this work at all. So yeah, let's go ahead and start doing some stuff. I am curious, like, did I do anything in here? Okay, that's what I thought. All right, let's go ahead and let's create a new Jupyter Notebook here, and I am going to call it, well, what do I want to call this? Loading, or I'm going to call this preparing word list. I'm going to call it preparing word list, although I guess it doesn't really matter. Okay, so first things first, we need to actually load up our file. So by the way, when you are in a Jupyter Notebook like this, excuse me, if you want to run Linux commands like you would in a shell, like in a terminal over here, if you type the exclamation point first and then you just type in whatever you want to do, then you could see that like that we have we basically had the same output here. So ls, but if I wanted to do like ls data like that, and you can see that that is that. So sometimes I do that just to refer to what the file name is here. Okay, so the way we load this up is we do a with open. So what this is doing is basically saying, okay, the open command is going to open this text file up here, and so we need to point to where that is at. So right now, like I've noted, we are in this notebooks directory, and we need to go up one and then down one into data in order to get that data. So we need to do up one. So the ... is to do up one directory, and then we do a slash, so data, and then slash Google, and then that. And by the way, if you like, depending on your configuration, if your computer's smart enough, like if you just tab over, like if you press the tab key like I did, like let me do that again. So you can see that I'm in the data directory here, and I started to type the word G, and then if I hit tab, it auto completes because that's the only thing in that directory. So like that is the nice thing about some of these things. And then so with this open command, I do need to do one other thing. So not only do I need to note the location of the file that we want to open, but we also need to note the way in which we want to open it. So we can open this in a way that we can write back to it. We can read it in just in a read fashion. And so that's what we're going to do. We only want to open it in a read fashion. And specifically, we want to read in a binary fashion. And so in order to do that, we just type the letters RB. So that stands for read binary. So with open read binary as F. And so what this is basically saying is we only, with this file, and then you might be wondering as F is just like an alias for this file. So it's basically saying, okay, this F is going to be a temporary variable that is basically referring to this whole thing. And the reason we do it this way is because when this cell block terminates, then it will close this file. Because if I didn't do this with, and I just did this open thing, then this file would technically always be open. And that's not really a best practice. So that's why we do this with open, but you actually can do this. Just delete this and have it always persistently open. I would not recommend that. Okay, so with that as f, so we are going to create a we're going to create a new variable called word list. So this is going to have all of our words. Word list equals f. So again, we're referring to this this open variable, and then we are going to call a command that is called read lines. And so what read lines is read lines is going to read lines is going to read all of the lines as part of this text file and put them into this variable called word list. All right, so you can see I ran that, and then if I type in the word list here, and then this is another nice thing about, well, did I actually want to do it as a read binary? Maybe I just wanted to do it as read. So actually, let me go ahead and do that. So I'm going to change this from RB to just R, and then, okay, that actually worked a little bit better. I don't know why I did the read binary, so sorry about that. So again, we just want to do R because R stands for read. We don't want to do W, which stands for write, because we do not want to write back to this file. Okay, so one thing to note in here is that you'll see, like, so here's the word about, and then you see like this /n. You might be wondering, what is that /n? So the /n is what we call a line break character. And so what it represents is, so if we look at, here, let me go ahead and, if we look at this the actual file itself, you'll see that like it's all these words on its own line. And the way the computer knows that it should be on its own line is, what you don't see is that there's actually a kind of like a hidden new line character there. Well, actually, no, I don't think there's a hidden. I just said that wrong. The way that like Python interprets it, like that, to know that there's a space here, is it puts a new line character there. So we need to get the new line character out of there. So the way we can do that is word list equals, all right, so I'm going to do a little bit of list iteration here. So by the way, so this word list, you might be wondering, like, because there are different data types in all coding languages. So what is the data type of this particular word list variable? Because Python does what we call dynamic typing. And so it actually, like other coding languages like Java, you actually explicitly have to say, okay, this is an integer, this is a character, this is a dictionary, whatever. Python's a little bit smarter in the sense that it can like do dynamic typing. Like, I guess smarter is not really a good word, because maybe like in some cases dynamic typing is not the best. But I will say it's a lot easier for learning. Like I actually started learning to code through Java, and let me tell you, I wish I would have started with Python, because Python's just a lot easier to learn on than Java. So this is a list type, and so a list is, we'll create a new list here. So test list. So if I were to create a new list from scratch, is I do these things called brackets. So these are right and left brackets. Let me make this a little bit bigger for y'all. So right and left brackets here, and then so actually you don't have to put anything in here at all. So like if we do like a type test list, then it'll show that this is a list, but it's just an empty list. So if I actually were to just show list like that, you'll see there's nothing in here. But if I were to put like the number 0, 1, 2, or well, let's not do letters. Let's do color. So red, blue, green. Okay, so you can see that we have our colors of red, blue, green here. And so the way actually all coding languages store like lists like this is at index values. And so you can see it like there are 3 different categories in here, if you will, of like different things that you can do. So if you wanted to reference just one of these things, then you could just type in the index location of whatever value this is. Now, the important thing to note is that the indexing does not start at 1. The indexing actually starts at 0. So if I wanted to get the color green here, that would actually be the number 2, because we have 0 would represent red, 1 would represent blue, and 2 would represent green. So if I did brackets here, and then I did like the number 0, and I ran this again, you can see we would get the word red. So again, this is going to become important as we continue to work with these word lists and stuff to do this. So the nice thing, like I was saying here, like we need to update some stuff. So we are going to do a for loop for that, and I'm going to show you 2 ways to do this for loop. There's the traditional way that most people use, and then there's like a shorter hand version of that. And so let's go ahead and do a basic for loop. So what a for loop is like we'll actually, let's continue to work with this test list for now. This is I'm doing so much talking on basic Python stuff. I don't know how much Wordle anything we're going to get to today, but that's okay. So what this test list is okay. So we have the three items here. If we want to iterate and do something with all of these things, we do that in a for loop. And so what we'll do is for, and then you can define whatever you want this to be called. So for word in test list. So that's the syntax for it. So basically we're saying for each word, let's rename this. We're gonna call this color list. So for each, sorry about that. For each word, or for each color in color list, and that's the syntax, then you can type in whatever code you want. So you can actually, so let's keep it simple now. So print color. So what that's doing is, that ran super fast, but what it basically did was it went through each of these. So for red here, so red, print out color red. Blue, print out color blue. So if we wanted to do, and that's super basic, but if we want to do something a little bit fancier, we could do something like this. So the current color is color. And so by the way, what we call this here is an F string. And so what an F string is you can define like a static part of your string and then have your variable referenced here. So the way we do that here is, we have within our quotes whatever we want done, and then the letter F before it, and then within these little braces that we refer to as curly braces, we put the variable name here. So you can say for color and color list, print F, the color is this. So if I run this command, is the current color is red, the current color is blue, the current color is green. So let me take a sip here. Yeah, so that's the long way of doing it. Long way. Like I actually do use this traditional syntax quite a bit. There's a shorthand version, and the reason I'm going to show you both is because I'll use the shorthand version, and like the shorthand version is really nice for like really like small scenarios, and it's just a nice way to clean up your code. So the way to do that is like, so you'll note we start here in curly braces. So, or I'm sorry, these aren't curly braces, these are brackets. Color for color in color list. So this is basically the same thing that we saw before. And so you can see here that we are basically creating a new list from each of these colors. But so I hope you could see kind of where we're going here. Is, we have this word list here right now, word list. We have our word list here of all these different words here, and we need to get rid of these new line characters. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. So word list equals curly braces, word, all right, dot, replace. So these are all, by the way, these are all, actually, let me demonstrate that here real quick. So back with our colors here. So each of these colors you can see are in these single quotes, and it doesn't, and in most syntax languages you can substitute between single quotes and double quotes. I just personally prefer to use single quotes, but I'm trying to think. HashiCorp's Terraform specifically doesn't really like to work with single quotes. It likes double quotes more. So just be aware they're different depending on whatever coding, whatever you're working in. You may have to use single quotes versus double quotes, but in most cases it is what do you call it? It just doesn't matter. So, but if I look at, so like I was saying before, so if I do a color list 0, that'll get the actual value. But if I look at the type of this, so type, it is a str. Str stands for string. So a string is just a string of characters. And then the thing in Python, the nice thing about Python is you can do a number of different automatic operations against strings using standard Python stuff. So here, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be doing word.replace. And then so what you want to do is you want to figure out what do you want to replace. So I want to replace this new line character. And then so I could just put, I could actually put in here dog. And what that would do is replace all these strings with dog. So actually, let me take this out here because I don't want to reassign that variable. For word and word list. And you can see here that now that we've done this, that all the new line word characters have been replaced with the word dog. Now, obviously, we just want to get rid of that. So the way to get rid of that is instead of just replacing it with the word dog, you replace it with nothing. So word list equals that. And now, here, let me go ahead and clear out some of these things. Word list. Boom. And now you can see we have a nice list of words that are just the words and nothing else. All right, so next thing we would need to do is we would need to just get the 5-letter words out of here. And I'm trying to think of the best way to do that. Because I actually don't want to like do something like go back and save the file like with just the 5-letter words, because I think it would be interesting, and this is something that I've never seen another Wordle clone do, is but like say like, okay, instead of a 5-letter word, what if I want to do a 7-letter word? So yeah, so let me think of the best way to do this. So I'm gonna just use the typical standard word for loop here. So for word and word list, and let me zoom in a little bit again. If word, all right, so let me see, print when word. Okay, so what I just did here is this is a standard Python operator that just basically gives you the length of something. So you can see here that when I did the length here, that it gives us the length for every single word here. So actually, let me do also just a print of the word. Okay, so this is kind of bad, but you could see like for the word about. Actually, let me combine this all together. We're using our pretty what do you call it? The F string formatting. So F string, the word is len word characters long. Okay, so and then I'll delete this stuff out right here, and then when I run this, you shall see that the word. Actually, let me put in some quotes. And by the way, if you want to put quotes in another string like this, but you just want them to be like not recognized by Python, like then you use kind of like the new line character. We use this backslash as an escape key, so I'm going to use an escape key there to put quotes there, an escape key here to put quotes here. And sorry about my wife vacuuming upstairs. I don't know why she's vacuuming upstairs when she knows I'm doing a live stream. Okay, so I put the quotes in the wrong place. I meant to put them here. Sorry about that. All right, so you can see here the word about is 5 characters long. The word search is 6 characters long. So what I basically need is just the stuff with 5 characters. So for word and word list, all right, so this is where we are going to be doing conditional statements. So a conditional statement being like we only want words if they meet the 5-character condition. So the way we do that in Python is we do the word if word, and then we can't just say the word equals, because equals in Python is not really like equating two things together. It's more like just an assignment kind of thing. So if we want to do equating, like golly, you know I'm doing a live stream right now. Why did she choose the vacuum right above me right now? All right, so if word equals, oh sorry, I want to do if length of word. Instead of doing a single equals, we do a double equals for like actual comparison equals 5. And then we'll just do a print of the word just to show you. So, okay, now this is just all the 5-letter words. So we want to truncate this down. So the way we can truncate this down is, I'm trying to think of the best way to do this. For word and word list. Okay, so word list. Or I'm going to call this 5-letter words equals blank. Okay, so this is how I do it sometimes. So sometimes you just want to instantiate a list and you want to add to that list. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to instantiate this empty list here, and then I'm going to just keep adding the 5-letter words to this empty list. So for word and word list, if length of word is equals 5, then we want to add that to the list. And so the way we add something to a list like this is we do the list, so 5-letter words dot append, because we want to append this to here. We want to append the word. Okay, so now after we run this, then we run 5-letter words, and then you can see we have all of our 5-letter words. All right, so that was all about just getting the words. Now I'm trying to think of now the next thing that we need to do is we need to figure out like how to just randomly grab one of these words, because we want to randomize this. We don't want to make it like it always goes in order or whatever. So I'm trying to think of the best way, because I know you can do. I don't do a whole lot of work with like random stuff, and if I do, I use a library called NumPy. But I think Python's got some built-in random stuff. So Python random. Okay, random generate. All right, so random. All right. Well, actually, I'm going to do a different search. Python get random item from list. All right. So if you Google stuff like this, then usually there's a good sort of something here. So random.choice list, you choose a random item from a sequence. Here is sequence. Okay. So random.choice, do I need to import random? Show me an example, please. Examples. Okay, so they need to import random. Okay, so you can see that's why I Google stuff like this, is because this is really nice. So this is showing here, like, here's an example of a list. You do need to import the random Python library, and then you can like just grab a random word here. So I'm gonna copy the syntax here. So back to our notebook. I'm gonna delete this out. So import random. And so, by the way, this is in terms of I'm pivoting over. If you're like one of my machine learning people that typically watch, this is why we don't use Jupyter Notebooks to deploy real machine learning models. And the reason this is you can see off on the left. This is the order in which we've run the cells. I can't tell you how many times I've seen it to where like everywhere, like not even just where I work, but like in the industry in general. Like if you run these things out of order, obviously you're going to get a different thing. But so like that's the problem, is like I've seen people where they will run this cell, then this cell, then this cell, then this cell, then this cell, all out of order. And if the person doesn't realize you have to run that order and they try running these things sequentially, you're going to get a different result. And that's why we don't use Jupyter Notebooks to deploy anything. They are a nice sandbox environment to be able to test little things out like this. So, but eventually when we start to harden our code, that's when we start to jump over into actual Python files and then like actually put things into these .py files. So that is why we do not deploy Jupyter Notebooks. We deploy Python files for real world applications. And again, for the real world application of our Wordle thing here, we will not be deploying this as a Jupyter Notebook. Okay. I don't know how much longer I want to go, just because my voice keeps giving out. Like, but we'll go a little bit longer. So we want to import random. All right, and then so print random. All right, so I just want to do 5-letter words. All right, so you can see if I just keep running the cell over and over, we are getting a different word from our list each time at random. So that's kind of cool. All right, so we are gonna. So that's kind of the first part of this thing. So the first part of this thing was we just wanted to get our list of words. We wanted to get just the 5-letter words, which we did. We wanted to remove the new line break characters, and then we wanted to print a choice at random. And so we are well on our way. So this is each time somebody new joins our application, they will get a random word assigned, and then they will begin their play of choice, trying to figure some of these things out to get like whatever your guess is at the end. And I think, just because my voice keeps giving out, I think I'm going to end it there. I know we didn't get very far. I'm trying to think. I might do another one of these streams tomorrow just for fun, because I don't think we have much going on tomorrow. But yeah, my voice just keeps giving out, and I don't know how much more I can talk today, unfortunately. Yeah, I'm still like, ever since I had COVID like 2 months ago, I got a cold like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And then like my voice has just never been the same since. Like I just can't talk as long as I used to. And it's also early in the morning, and that plays a factor. And I'm drinking coffee, which, coffee is not really the best choice of beverage if you are a speaker. But yeah, we'll go ahead and call it there, because I need to go fix my fence and stuff. But I hope you all learned something, and we will pick this back up. Like I said, I might do another stream tomorrow just for the fun of it, or maybe even tonight if I have time. Well, I'm not going to make any promises though, so we'll see. Thank you all for joining. I hope you all have a good day, and we will see you in the next stream. Thank you. Goodbye. I'm not going to make any promises though, so we'll see. Thank you all for joining. I hope you all have a good day, and